15 Eastern. I appreciate Dave and Doris mentioning I'm not tired yet. I'm not tired yet. After that game, how could you be anything but moved by the level of competition and the want-to and what was expended by the folks in the battle? Man, that was fantastic basketball. Tim Legler's in the house, Doris Burke standing by. We'll hear from both teams. A lot of other stuff went on. I honestly don't know how much we're going to get to. Giannis, a signature performance as they win in Boston. Wild night in Major League Baseball. The Hurricanes are moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals and the Stanley Cup playoffs. The best thing I saw today, let's be real, is the game that you and I just watched from Portland. We'll pick this up in the late going. Hadn't been an overtime playoff game in the postseason this season. Tied at 95. We'll say it once. Jamal Murray, present. And Bottoms. Such a high arcing jumper. Always looks like it's going to find the bottom. 2-point lead. Under 2 to go. He's got Cantor. They were hunting that switch, and he buries the 3. It's a 5-point deficit for the home team. But it's now a 2-point game. Dame, Mo Harkless, fighting through an injury. Ties things up. Chance to be an and one. Misses the free throw. We stay tied. Jokic. Ball movement. Out of bounds. As Will Barton, who was such a warrior for the Nuggets in this one, steps out of bounds. Ensuing possession. Dame time. Dame time. Float game. Float game.
On point.
Do your job, Steve.
Do the read.
2-point game. Backdoor pass from Jokic. Fine Spartan. We're tied at 102. Good ball movement. Al-Farouq Aminu, no. Rebound to Murray. You can look at Coach Malone. When they're going to call a timeout, what do? They don't get to advance it, so it's 1.8. It's going to be tough to get anything off here resembling a shot that you want. They don't. And we head to overtime. In overtime. Tied at 104. TrailBlazers, wide open look, shoulders square, Bottoms, three-pointer. 3-point lead for the home team. Now we're down 3. Murray, right back at you. All square at 107. Less than a minute to go. Jokic, down low. Millsap, that's what he can do in the paint. He gets a bucket. 2-point lead for the Nuggets. They've got the ball in a 2-point lead. Great steal here. Lillard, 1-on-2, 1-on-3, layup no good. Wild scramble. McCollum picks it up. Float. Game. Bucket good. We're tied at 109. On the other end, what kind of shot are you going to get? Jokic behind the back. He's got range, but no. That's no good. Tied at 109. Let's keep playing.
Second overtime.
In the second overtime. Dame time. All 3 of these. And it's a 5-point lead, but this Nugget team, the best in the NBA this year in one-possession games, 13-3. The most wins in those games. Here they come. Millsap ties it up. 116 all. McCollum, step back. Rattles and it drops. Blazers up 2. Paul Harris. Down the lane, beautiful spin, clever little up and under. Tied again. Nobody can get any separation in this game. And even if you did, the other team would just fight back. Murray, Jokic, pulls, no. Rebound, Murray, jump ball. Jump ball called 5.7. Doris made a great point. That's a bad toss.
You think?
It was awful.
Check the internet.
It ends up in the possession of the Blazers, which means it's Lillard. That's the spot. No. Let's play a third overtime. Into the third overtime. 1-point lead for the home team. McCollum, who went for 41, hits a big shot. How many did he play tonight? He played 60 minutes he played. Jokic played 65 of the 68 minutes. He makes it a 2-point game. McCollum, deflection. Millsap gathers. Again, down low. A beautiful fadeaway.
Shot
We're tied
makeability.
again. Say it again.
Shot makeability.
It was, I don't know if it's a word, but it makes sense. All right, Denver's up 4. All right, you'll give Dame that one. But again, any lead was matched. Now, this was wild. In real time, well, this is off Portland. But that review and that pinky from Murray is the last thing on the ball. That means Portland gets the ball back. And Lillard, again to the rim.
Right after Gary Harris fouled out, too, Scott.
Stanford Steve, analysis. I hated this play. Run something. They didn't run anything. They just inbound the ball, and Murray just takes a 35-footer. So we go to the fourth overtime, only the second quadruple overtime game in the history of the NBA. Rodney Hood, who came in, I believe, in the fourth overtime,
sure
and
did.
Fresh legs, he hits a big shot. Millsap,
look at that.
Another big shot. 1 point lead. McCollum. No. What a play. He never hits his feet to Hood. Ball fake, gets Barton off the ground and hits a monster three. And now the Blazers lead again. Barton played so well and so hard for the Nuggets. But the great ball fake from Hood gets the clean airspace, and he takes advantage. Now they've got the lead. Under 10 seconds to go. Jokic. Again, no man of his size has ever played more minutes in any game in the playoffs in 65 minutes. He's got 2 free throws to tie it. He's a great free throw shooter, and he misses the first. Makes the second. They foul. No timeouts. Inbound. They're going to probably try to throw to Jokic for a pass back, but it's picked off. That's it. That's all. That's all there is. 140 to 137 is the final score. I mean, what? As a wise man once said, what? Try to make sense of that. All I know is this, and David Doris pointed this out, less than 48 hours from now, Sunday, 7 o'clock West Coast time, they got to come back out and play. These guys gave so much energy, played so many minutes, and just to frame this in terms of its historic context, the last and only time we, and probably not a lot of we involved here, saw a quadruple overtime game in the playoffs. Red Auerbach looked like this, and he and Boston had yet to win a title. They had a guy named Bob Cousy as well that went for 50. That was in 53 against the Syracuse Nationals. They won that one in 4 overtimes. That final was 111 to 105. Doris Burke joins us now. And DB, I mean, I wasn't tired before I read the highlight, but I'm exhausted now. And we show Rodney Hood, who hadn't played, make the huge shot. And we show Jokic, who played 65, missed that free throw. To what degree do you think the physical and mental ability to execute is compromised in the end?
I thought there were a couple of moments in the game where Nikola Jokic absolutely had a couple of passes that were fatigue-related. Mm-hmm. But the guy goes for 33 points, 18 rebounds, and 14 assists. And keep in mind, if Mike Malone does not challenge him a year ago and say, change your body and change your level of conditioning, he's not able to play and give the kind of effort he did. And I'm going to say this to you, Scott. I know we probably had a ton more viewers toward the end of that telecast. But the effort you saw at the end of the fourth overtime was the way this game started. And it wasn't pretty to start. There was a lot of turnovers, some sloppy play. But these men on both sides poured their heart and soul from the opening tip. There is nothing like NBA playoff basketball. It was a privilege to sit courtside and call this.
Hear, hear. All you can give is everything, and everyone on the floor did. And that's the last thought I have for you. Sunday night, these teams have to play again, and one of them had to lose, and that team, in this case, is Denver. How do you absorb this type of gutting defeat and summon what is required to play Game 4?
Listen, this is an organization who has methodically built and been incredibly patient with their young pieces. They have not mortgaged the future. They have said, we are going to grow this together. Very similar to what you saw the Golden State Warriors do. They have the potential to be together for a long time. This is a team that went down to the San Antonio Spurs, the storied San Antonio Spurs, in their first game. Had to win, had to go on the road and beat San Antonio in San Antonio. They are resilient. They're tough-minded. They're young. They'll bounce back, I have no doubt, and I expect Game 4 to be as competitive.
Well, all you can hope for in our business is a chance to call games like this. You guys, you and Dave, rose to the level. What a treat to watch and listen. That had to be fun. And you're going to get per diem for this, too. That has to be a treat as well. Doris, thanks so much.
We're hoping the refreshments are still open on this end, Scott.
You know what? Portland's a great town. You'll find something, I'm sure. Thank you, DB.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll see you. All right, time to do your research. on the 4 overtime game, just the second there's ever been. Rodney Hood didn't need to warm up in a sense, had to get loose. Exited the game with 47.1 seconds left in the first overtime. Didn't come back until $1:59 in the fourth, so he was sat for roughly 14 minutes of game time before coming back to bury the biggest shot of this ball game. TrailBlazers had 13 points entering the fourth quarter, 28 on 26 field goal attempts in the fourth quarter and overtime periods for a total of 41, which ties his playoff career high. For Denver, Nikola Jokic. Earlier this year, we used the word sublime to describe this guy. His skill set is rare, if not unique. And he went for a triple-double, tying Fat Lever for the most triple-doubles in Nuggets playoff history. He played 65 of the 68 potential minutes. And
what do you want from me, man? I mean, you want what?
I don't want a touch screen.
What do you want? You break that down in 2 plays?
No, exactly. Tonight I don't need arrows. I don't need vision cones.
What am I supposed to do with that?
I'll give you as wide a berth as you want. Okay, what do you want to discuss?
The first thing I want to discuss is the emotional toll that this could take on Denver. A physical toll, look, these guys are going to get themselves in the right frame of mind. There's going to be a certain amount of adrenaline to play game 4. The problem is if you're Denver and you have that many opportunities to win the game and you don't get it, you will not get the benefit of the juice in the building when you show up there in less than 48 hours. And that's what I worry about for Denver. And obviously they fall behind 3-1. It's a serious mountain to climb. They win this game. That would be enough to get their bodies right for the fourth game. But to lose it emotionally, can you stay as sharp as you need to be to come in there? Because the Portland TrailBlazers are going to benefit from that crowd.
Sure.
And it's going to get them through those moments because it could be a very sloppy game. And that's what I worry about for Denver. So for me, that's bigger picture. We might have seen the series right there over the period of those 4 overtimes.
But this Nugget team, and I mentioned it during that lengthy highlight read, during the regular season and throughout, they've been 13-3 in one-possession games. They've been great here. And I think that just explains to a degree why they're able to come back from down 5 and down 4 a couple of times and trail and tie. But in the end, you're right, they do lose. In the grand scheme of what we saw, whether it's Jokic or McCollum or whomever, is there a player or a sequence to you that is worth mentioning out of all of that?
I think there are 3 things to touch on right there. First is two of those are TrailBlazers and Jamal Murray. There's a lot of great point guards in the postseason, right? I mean, guys that have won MVPs, guys that are first-team all-league players that get all the attention. These guys are right there on that next shelf. TrailBlazers' ability to handle the ball like a point guard and with that slippery dribble, the fact that Damian Lillard can go out of the game and now you hand the ball off to another guy that would be an all-star caliber point guard in just about any team is an incredible luxury.
There were chunks of times that Lillard didn't touch the ball for possessions after possession because you had McCollum carrying the load.
And once CJ gets cooking like that, Dame does that. He will go watch CJ play a little bit. So I wanted to point out that how great that performance was out of CJ McCollum and Jamal Murray as well, what he has grown into. Let's go back to his first game in at 3 quarters against San Antonio when he couldn't buy a shot. If you remember, he had 22 points in the fourth quarter of game 2. That might be the defining moment if they get to the conference finals that turn this entire thing around. He's been great ever since. Tonight you saw 2 young guards that don't get as much attention as those top shelf guys that put on a display for you. And if you didn't see it, this is obviously an instant classic now. You're going to be able to see this as many times as you want. And then the last guy is Rodney Hood. This is a guy that's had big buckets in his life. Has he ever had a more important 3-minute stretch than he just had at the end of that game, particularly if Portland goes on to win this series and get to the conference finals?
That's why you go out and get a vet, a guy who's ready for a moment like that. And when the time came, ready for my moment, time came and I owned it, right? Isn't that what
George Hill did it tonight for Milwaukee, too. So 2 guys were involved in that trade with the Lakers, right? They end up in Cleveland, and now look at them having big moments in the postseason because the veterans know how to play and get themselves right mentally.
2:30 and you and me live out here talking.
Unreal, man.
What a night, right?
This sets a record for us. It's the latest I've ever been out here.
Right on. I'll do it any night, man. You and me can run it back as long as we get stuff like this to talk about. Legs, appreciate it. All right, Terry Stotts after a remarkable game in Portland.
I have no idea what happened in the first half or the second half or the first 3 overtimes. And Rodney Hood came in and played great. It was a hell of a game. I've never been involved in a game like that. Regular season or playoff, but it was amazing effort by both teams. Well, I'd like to take credit for that, but actually Mo was cramping up a little bit, and so that was the reason for the substitution. But we did go to him a couple times. Obviously, the three-point shot was, a scramble situation. CJ made a great play, but we did go to him because we liked the matchup a couple times, and he had fresh legs.
Well, this just continues a rough trend. You see the worst winning percentage in road playoff games, and the Nuggets 19-70 now. And I mean, it's rough to have to add this one to this pile, if you like, given the level of effort and their competitive spirit in this one. Somebody was going to end up on the wrong end of it, and they did. Another game was played. It felt like it was a week and a half ago, but it was actually the opener tonight. Kyrie and Boston back at home. Gucci Mane in the building. Steve, the chain game assessed.
On point.
Evidently. Many points of light.